Fairest greetings, people and patrons of the night. It is I, thy horror lander. Okay, now seriously, when it comes to a Horror's Got Talent video, I usually go for a suit because I'm talking about pretty much a perfect story and I gotta dress for the occasion. But I did visit India. In India, we have our own version of suits called sherwanis, which is what I'm wearing right now. So check it out. I look drippy, y'all. Y'all mess with it? Y'all like it? It's a little tight, y'all. I gotta lose weight. I'm gonna get a little bit of cushioning right here. But nonetheless, I'm ready to go for this review. This fit is also a nice juxtaposition considering how graphic and disturbing and wild the story it is that I'm about to talk about. So, for this perfect occasion, let's get into the Horror's Got Talent contestant, which I'm going to be talking about today, which is a short story that I got to read from a collection called Dead Bait 4. Now, as many of you may know, I've already reviewed the Dead Bait 1 and Dead Bait 2 book. This book series are basically a collection of anthology short stories by a bunch of different authors, some of them well-known and some of them up-and-coming. And it's all regarding basically horrific things that lie within the water. This could be bodies of water ranging from lakes, rivers, oceans, to even your own toilet and bathtub. You never know where there might be creature feature action or wild things going on. So that's what this book series focuses on, and this story is from the last entry of the series, which is Dead Bait 4. The story I'm going to be talking about today is a wild, brutal, and disturbing horror comedy short story, which I had the absolute pleasure of reading. This short story made me laugh out loud a bunch of times because it's got over-the-top humor. It also has a little bit of subtlety to it. At certain points, it kind of, gets under your skin and it'll make you giggle or make you cringe. You also have some of the most brutal and horrific scenes involving a nasty little pest that is infesting this story. But overall, it had a lot of great body horror, a lot of great violence, a lot of gross out, and at the same time, it was humorous and fun. So it was a perfect mix of what I kind of wanted, and I decided to talk about it. So today, the short story in question, our Horror's Got Talent contestant, is going to be For the Seafood Lover in You by Joshua Chaplinsky.
今夜は朝まで帰さないよ、子猫ちゃんたち。Here we go! Let's party!
For the Seafood Lover in You opens up with basically the idea of this seafood restaurant opening up and existing that's now turned into like a multinational chain corporation. And although it's faced a bunch of different lawsuits involving unhygienic conditions as well as some parasitic infections in the food, it still remains at an all-time high for popularity. Somehow, some way, people just keep coming back to this seafood restaurant chain and eating at it. This chain is called the Crimson Crustacean, and you follow a couple that's going out on a date, and you see how that unfolds for them. You have the lady in question whose name is Jolene, and you have the guy in question whose name is Randy. Jolene is trying her hardest to impress Randy. She's kind of looking for some action, looking for a partner, trying to be as seductive and attractive and interesting as possible involving their conversations. And Randy, on the other hand, is quite crass. He's quite harsh, and he just speaks his truth as unapologetically as he can possible.
Would you rather be born with one leg?
Man, shut the fuck up.
You have him arguing about the lobster bisque and whether or not you should be eating crustaceans because Randy believes that they're basically shit eaters, as he calls them. They're just parasitic insects, the sea cockroaches that go at the sea bottom and just eat a bunch of shit that comes out of fish and other things, feeds on carcasses, and humans eat them like it's nothing, but these are nasty little fuckers. And to be honest, he's not technically wrong. These things are bottom feeders. They do eat a lot of nasty shit, but just escapes people's minds somehow. And meanwhile, she's trying her best to basically impress him and get on her good side, trying to seduce him, trying to talk to him nicely, but he keeps kind of brushing her off. That is until there's a turn of events and something apparently happens where he bites his own tongue and starts bleeding, and he actually bit his tongue so hard after taking a bite of his lobster bisque that a piece of his tongue, the tip of his tongue, actually falls off into a napkin and he starts bleeding profusely through it. You have Jolene offering to take him to a hospital and a doctor, but he keeps refusing and he's very vehemently disagreeing with that. Apparently he's afraid of doctors in a hospital, so he's going to have to take matters into his own hands. The same hands that are holding a bit of his tongue right now, so we'll see how that works out for bro. You then have Jolene and Randy leaving out to the parking lot where there's 2 nearby employees working on making some famous cheddar biscuits. And what do you know? All of a sudden a car pulls up and this drunk blonde lady starts walking towards them. You find out that the drunk blonde lady is actually Randy's wife. That's right. Bro was trying to get a side piece, a side chick, and he's got his main chick pulling up right now. And you better believe that she might start causing some drama. Actually, I lied. Shawty's so pissed drunk that she ends up falling over face first on the pavement while Jolene and Randy wince and cringe at the sight of it. Yeah, not so graceful. You then find out that this is a regular occurrence with his wife, whose name is Sandy. She's always getting drunk, always driving for some reason, not advisable, and always trying to cause some problems. But at the same time, Randy apparently is always trying to find women because he's not satisfied to be monogamous. And apparently his wife is okay with it. She's kind of just tolerant to this dude getting side chicks. And she even kind of greets Jolene with a sense of, like, I guess, friendly banter. She's like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? And, trying to mingle with them, and starts talking about, Randy's problems and stuff, and just nonchalantly not kind of reacting to the fact that she's kind of getting cheated on. So, hey, man, he's got to keep her. That's all I'm going to say. Nah, I'm just kidding, y'all, I'm not kidding. She's a keeper. Post-production Horrorlander here, there's also a hilarious scene where basically Randy's apologizing for going to the Crimson Crustacean without his wife Sandy, and she basically takes a look at the girl that he was on a date with and goes, oh yeah, no worries honey, I understand. You were just bringing home dessert for us. And Jolene looks at her like, what the fuck did this bitch just say to me? Randy's also not really able to talk at this point. He's kind of got slurred speech because, of course, he bit off a piece of his tongue. And as they lead him into the car, again, now Sandy's telling him that she's got to take him to an emergency room or doctor, but he's telling his wife, no, no, no. And she then hints to Jolene that that's because he's afraid of doctors for a reason, and she gestures to him and to her that, yeah, fellas, you all winced at that just now. So yeah, apparently this dude's got really bad luck with limp things getting cut off. Oof, that's a doozy. You then have all 3 of them inside of the car, and they're all heading off to basically Sandy and Randy's house. I just realized their names rhyme. Why did that not click with me? Their names are Randy and Sandy. Well, there you go. A couple meant for each other. As they're riding off in the car, you then have basically Sandy trying to look inside of his mouth and see the damage that's been done. And when she looks inside of Randy's mouth, she starts screaming her head off like a straight up banshee scream of terror as she backs away. And Jolene sees what's inside of his mouth too, and also backs away screaming. And that's when Randy starts to freak out. That's when Sandy starts screaming her head off and saying that you got something inside of your mouth, and it's got eyes, it's clung onto your tongue, and something with the faces inside of there. And Randy thinks that these bitches are crazy. He's like, what the fuck are these hoes talking about? And then he looks in the rear view mirror, and then he hits the full brake, and then he starts guttural screaming out of his mouth as he sees what's going on. When they get back to the house, you then have Jolene basically wake up after she passed out, and Sandy informs her with a quick Google search that what's inside of his mouth is a tongue-eating sea louse, an isopod. Yeah, this is an actual monstrosity little parasite creature that exists in the real world. And I'm going to show you a picture of it so you get some good visualization for this story, but just know you've been warned. So let's cut to the cute little fucker right now. Yeah, I know, this thing is fucked up. This thing is really fucked up looking. Sorry that y'all had to see that, but listen, man, horror stories and books are all about imagination. You gotta immerse yourself within the story and environment. So although it is horrible, just understand that God created that little shit, alright? That is Mother Nature's deformed little baby, and I don't know how Mama's able to love that dude. Oh yeah, by the way, here's a picture of 2 of them inside of a fish's mouth. One's a baby, one's a mother. I'm sorry, listen, I gotta give y'all good visuals, and if I seen this horrible shit, so do y'all. We are both gonna be subject to torture and pain, but it's enjoyable, so yeah, there you go. Everybody starts freaking out. Sandy then grabs a pair of metal tongs and tries to pull out this thing from his mouth, and obviously Randy's freaked out and he's scared of what his wife's gonna do, and when she tries pulling out the thing from his mouth, that unfortunately goes wrong because she ends up ripping his tongue out of its root, and the whole 6 inches of his remaining tongue basically gets detached. You then have her trying to repair the damage, trying to talk to her husband, putting some water in his mouth, and then he gives her an odd request. He begs his wife to come and give him a kiss. Just one. Just one long smooch.
No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong.
Oh, that's wrong.
That's wrong.
And of course, she's talking about how her heart says yes, but her eyes are saying, get the fuck out of here, motherfucker. I'm not gonna kiss you with that ugly little shit inside of your mouth. And when Randy starts doing a fake out death scene, she ends up agreeing to it, and they start making out, and things go really bad as he grips onto her face, not letting go, and she starts screaming out of her throat as blood comes out of her nasal and her nose and mouth. And her eyes basically go pupils back into her head, and she starts convulsing like it's an exorcism and going crazy until she falls back and Randy falls back limp dead. You then have Sandy get up, and now she starts talking with a new consciousness because, yeah, this little tongue louse thing is sentient. It is able to mind control, and it mind controls by latching on and eating people's tongues. So now it's taken over Sandy's body, and it reveals some horrific news that it's been working some of its evil plots throughout this lobster seafood restaurant, because it basically has it and its thousands of siblings' eggs lay inside of the food and then incubate inside of people's stomachs to then burst out of for ritualistic days of reckoning, which are soon going to be shown towards the climax of this story. And oh my god, you have no idea how horrific this motherfucking thing gets. I mean, it is absolute nightmare fuel. And I mean nightmare fuel to nightmare fuel. And I can't spoil it for y'all. I want y'all to read it. So just know that when Jolene gets taken to a beach by some employees and Sandy now possessed by this creature, you see how these things carry out their day of reckoning and their ritualistic festival out by the seashore. And it's disturbing, it is horrific, it is violent, a lot of body horror and gross out and bloody, skin crawling, sweat inducing things that you are subject to imagine and see. And Jolene, of course, has to see it, and you then see how the story ends off with some foreshadowing as to what's going to happen in the future for a bunch of different people out there. So yeah, overall, this short story is absolutely fantastic. It is an amazing horror comedy because it really leans into the ridiculousness, the cartoonish behavior of certain characters, but there's also subtle humor mixed in there, little things that'll make you giggle and laugh and kind of catch you off guard. You also have the absolute disturbing imagery of a parasitic tongue-eating sea louse inside of people's mouths, basically mind controlling them, and seeing the type of violence that it induces and occurs within people that it's trying to become the host for is disturbing to see and watch as it's visualized. You also have the giant climax scene, which is absolutely skin-crawling, absolutely terrifying to imagine, and ups the violence and gore. So overall, this story was very fun, very enjoyable, a cool, weird concept. That's one of the main things I look for when it comes to some of my favorite horror stories, when an author can go into more of the weird stuff, the weird but enjoyable concepts, and have really good execution behind it. That's what makes it super enjoyable for guys like me. And yeah, man, I had a fun time with this one. I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. It is a fantastic story, damn near perfect. And if it got expanded upon or shown even more stuff about, I would probably give this one a 10 out of 10. It's one of those ones that makes you wanting for more. It's also funny because there was another story a little bit similar to this one from, I believe, Deadbait 2 that involved giant killer isopods. A little different to this one, but that one was sort of missing some of the good writing and had a lot of weird incestual stuff and just odd stuff in it that, you know, the good stuff was good, but there's a lot of just weird filler bad stuff. Here, there's nothing like that. Here, it's perfect pacing, perfect story structure, hits you in the face where it's supposed to, has a good mix of comedy and horror. The horror is absolutely disturbing. The comedy is actually funny, so it's a nice little balance, and it works together for this tale. So that is my highest recommendation for a horror comedy short story you guys should definitely check out. If you like seafood, if you're scared of the deep blue abyss, if you're scared of bodies of water and things that lurk in there, scared of parasites and things like that, yeah, you should check out For the Seafood Lover and You by Joshua Chaplinsky. I definitely want to see more stuff out of this guy, because if more stuff out of this guy is like this, I think I found another author that I'm going to be into. That's all I got for today. If you guys enjoyed, especially the effort I took dressing up in this tight little outfit of mine, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and comment down below. I suggest you guys go check out Dead Bait 4 and read this short story. You can probably find this book online if you go to like places like Internet Archive or somewhere else, or maybe you can get like a Kindle version of this book for a lot cheaper. Go read it. Go check out some of the other stories in this collection book. And yeah, stay tuned for more content that's going to be coming. Some upcoming stuff is going to be more Tim Curran, so look forward to that because he's one of my favorite horror authors for a reason. That's it for today, people. Deuces.
Arrivederci.